Yeah.
Alright guys, so I'm Ethan's older brother Bret, and I was told to come onto here and explain to you guys the question of what it's like to be a brother of somebody with autism, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So,
The older brother.
The older brother. So, let's get into it. I won't lie to you guys, it's hard. It's not going to be easy. It takes a lot of getting used to. One of the biggest things that I really struggled with was I was embarrassed as well. And that's something that's hard to deal with now that I've grown past that I was embarrassed in the past. But it's something that you grow up with, is that you were embarrassed going to school and he can't help but make noises and he's different. It's a little embarrassing at times, and it's hard because when you're a kid you want to be cool, and it's kind of hard to deal with. And
But so I'll jump in and ask you questions.
that'd be helpful.
Yeah. So what age group was it embarrassing? Because you weren't embarrassed in elementary school.
No, it was middle school and like freshman year of high school.
Yeah.
And then once I hit sophomore year and started growing into puberty, is when it got a little bit easier.
And that's right around the time that kids are just typically mean.
Yeah.
So it gets a little embarrassing.
That's when we started dealing with the bullying problems.
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of personal wise, but also kind of peer pressure wise, some of the embarrassment probably came from people asking, why does your brother do that? Why is he like that?
Yeah.
And you were in that awkward stage of even understanding yourself.
Exactly. And to go into that is, when people would ask me, I didn't know how to answer because I didn't have any idea. So some of the best advice I can give you is to inform once they get to that age. Because elementary school, it doesn't matter. We're all the same no matter what. We're all acting the same, all acting like children. But once we get into middle school, they're still in that mental phase where they're still acting like they were in elementary school, while we're starting to grow into the middle school and high school phases. And so inform those siblings and your children who have a brother or sister with autism exactly what it is, so they can answer those questions, and it makes it easier, and they don't have to be embarrassed because they know exactly what to say. They understand themselves what's going on. That was one of the hardest things for me, is I didn't ever understand really until high school, and I started actually asking the questions and looking into it myself. And then once I did that, it was a lot easier to answer questions and deal with people asking me, deal with all the looks we were getting. It became not a big deal because I understood it finally.
So would you say then, growing up, we were so caught up in teaching Ethan, we didn't do a very good job educating you about Ethan?
I would say it wasn't really a bad job educating me. It was more focus on getting yourselves fully understanding and getting Ethan the help he needed. That your main focus wasn't on that Gary and I completely understand, just that we semi-understand, you know?
Yeah.
It was more of a, okay, this is what it is.
Or he just does that because he has autism.
Yes, it wasn't details of what exactly autism was. He's doing this because of autism. He's doing that because of the autism as it happens.
Yeah. So then you telling me now, as a 20-year-old, so we look at things when you're growing up, and we didn't give you all the details and make you overwhelmed because it's your brother, but you're saying it would have helped you?
I would definitely say it would have. Just having that knowledge, and I mean, it's going to be hard for them to wrap their brain around exactly what it is, but just them having that knowledge and knowing what to say will help in those situations.
So what about when you were little?
Elementary school?
No, little. Like a little kid. Like Ethan, when Ethan was first being diagnosed, and he's 3, so you're 4.5, and Garrett's a newborn. So, like, what about those first few years when you were little, and thinking back to then?
It's hard to remember, first of all. I was 4.
Yeah.
But
well, not
I would
just
have to
4,
say,
but like,
I would have to say through those 4 to 6, 7-ish, like 4 to 7-year-old, it was kind of more difficult because all the focus was on Ethan.
Yeah. Yeah.
90%, to be realistic, was all on Ethan and getting him to speech therapy and getting him to his therapy and everything he needed. it was all on him and creating all big sheets for him so he could, go to the bathroom and wash his hands and brush his teeth and eat, and everything was on Ethan. And as a kid, that was hard to really understand exactly what that meant. But at the same time, looking back now, I understand it. But then it was hard on me, and I really actually struggled with it. When Garrett comes on next week, I'm sure he'll say the same thing, since he's the younger one. But yeah, really back then it was kind of more difficult. And I mean, don't get me wrong, my parents did a good job. They took me to the speech therapy too, and I went. I was always there with them, but Ethan was the focus.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Like
you were kind of in the
shadow.
Viewing room,
Yeah.
but we would play with you. But it's kind of like, oh, Bret, there's a slide, and then we'd be observing.
Ethan.
But no long term damage.
No. As you can see, no long-term damage. We're okay.
Yeah. But like, even when you were little, and you're right, Garrett will have a different perspective because he's younger. So he has the point of view of surpassing his older sibling.
Yeah.
Which you don't have.
I do not have.
But like when you were growing up and you had to share your things with him, but he did not have to share.
Thanks, Darren. You're right.
His things with you. What else? You know what I mean? Like he had his special stuff, and his special stuff was off limits.
Yeah.
But we rearranged everybody's toys for him. And
I remember.
So it would be a little disruptive, I would think, from your point of view.
It was. I mean, like it's just a change.
Yeah.
And in life we all go through changes, but it was just a different change than most kids have to go through, and my friends didn't have to go through that. So that was hard growing up, seeing them not have to do these changes, but me have to do these changes, and not really fully understanding that.
Fair.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Not really fully understanding why they didn't have to do these changes, but I had to do these changes. Was kind of different, but in the end, looking back now, I obviously completely understand. It's, I think, one of the most important things as a parent when you have a child with autism to explain to their siblings is really just the whole time it's all about communication. I think constant communication and really explaining what exactly is going on is the most important job for you for those other children.
So let me ask you, and I want you to free talk too.
Absolutely.
But behavior-wise, was it easy or hard on you that you guys would get in trouble for cut and dry things? Just cut and dry. You're not supposed to do that. You're in trouble. But then, like with Ethan, we'd have point systems and punishment systems, and like he could do something that seemed maybe in some people's opinions as a minimal accomplishment, and he would be getting rewards, and that's all part of ABA therapy.
Yeah.
And that didn't pertain to you guys. Was that hard?
That was hard, and especially those really younger years. That was really hard. Just not being able to fully wrap my brain around, wow, Ethan used the bathroom at the age of 5 and got a reward, and here I am getting nothing for cleaning the dishes. I mean, just simple things.
Well, you didn't
like,
clean the dishes at 5.
It's just an example. I didn't actually
Okay.
clean the dishes at 5.
Okay.
But I mean, or like, I picked up my toys. There you go. That's a better
that's
one.
a little
Picked up my
more
toys. It's like, I didn't get a reward for that. That was expected of me, while Ethan would get a reward for something like that. Or I did something wrong. I'm trying to think of a good example for that one. I would do something wrong and get punished for it, get something taken away, while if Ethan did the exact same thing, it was more of a point deducted, or it was just like a warning because of his autism. That was hard for me to really understand back then. I thought it was unfair. I thought it was favoritism back then. To be completely blatant with you guys and totally honest, I thought it was favoritism. I thought she was choosing him over us, like she liked him more. Obviously now I realize that that's not true. 20 years old. But that's how it was back then. That's kind of how it felt as a kid, seeing those things and everything going towards Ethan, and all the focus is on Ethan. It was kind of hard.
Mm-hmm.
Also, for the 5 people watching, if you guys have any questions about the whole thing, type them in. I can see them. I'll answer them. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Now, we always tried, finance-wise, to make sure that if we spent X amount of hundreds of dollars in a month on therapy, that we would enroll you in
soccer.
something.
Yeah.
In something.
Yeah.
And you think that kind of balanced out?
I think that definitely did.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong, my parents did an amazing job. I mean, they put Ethan through therapy, like did all that, but then they also had time to put Garrett and I through soccer, and that was amazing. So I think just I think that was a great little balance out of, all right, I'm spending this much money on Ethan and therapy and toys, I need to be able to do the exact same thing for my other two children, and that's what my parents did, and that was amazing.
So then what about if, like, if there's a sibling that's watching that may be afraid to approach their mom and dad about the time they spend with them? Because that was something with both you and Garrett, like, especially with me, like a lot of times I would spend sun up to sundown with Ethan, and we'd be at multiple doctors, and then KU, and then in-home therapy, and then I did bedtime routine, and then I'd come in and kiss you guys goodnight and talk to you a couple times throughout the day. But your dad was in charge of you guys, and I was in charge of Ethan. But so what would you tell other siblings that are watching to say to their parents if they feel that way, to be afraid of talking to them or to just do it?
Don't be afraid. It is a very scary thought, I get that. To all the kids out there watching, just, you gotta tell them.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I know it's scary, you don't know the answer, you're kind of scared to hurt their feelings and make them feel bad, but it's what you gotta do to open their eyes sometimes to, because like my mom said, all of her time was invested in Ethan in those years, and it was therapy and home therapy and KU and bedtime and eating, and it was all focused on Ethan. So just ask. Just go, tell them how you're feeling. Tell them, listen, this is what I see. I feel like you're putting all your time into Ethan or my other brother or sister. I really appreciate it if you put some time into me. This is just what I see. If I'm wrong, please explain it to me. Just have them explain. Just have a conversation and talk about it.
Well, because sometimes it takes a kid's perspective to open a parent's eyes who are lost in something that's beyond their control.
Exactly.
So what about, so you explained middle school, and I remember when you were in middle school, and like I would make you watch Ethan at dances and make you you were kind of his protector.
It was a big wake-up call in middle school, especially. I had to grow up real fast and become someone that watches Ethan when my parents couldn't.
Instead of just a sibling,
instead of just a brother, I was more of a, I'm trying to think of the best word.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the best word too, because you didn't become a parent, but you became
a
protector.
Like at school dances, I was like his para.
Yeah, so there's really not a word.
There really isn't a word.
You cross into a phase where you're not just a sibling, though.
You're more than a sibling. You are a protector, I guess.
Something
somewhat of that. And middle school dances, I'd watch him, and Ethan dances goofy, but he has fun. But a lot of kids would look and point and laugh, and that was my job, was to prevent that and to be the one that goes out and does the goofy dances with him. That way he's not alone. And
while you're also trying to have fun and be with your friends.
Exactly, while I'm trying to have fun and be with my friends and have my own dance, I also had to be letting him have his own dance. It's a lot of sacrifices in the end. There are a lot of sacrifices you have to make. There's a lot of sacrifices I've had to make. Like, Ethan's out there dancing, and my friends want to go over on this side to get a drink and food, but I can't leave him. I got to make that sacrifice. It's sacrifices. Or I'm going to hang out with my friends, I'll bring Ethan with me. And back then my friends never understood. They were kind of weirded out at first, so that was actually kind of a sacrifice, because it was a big popularity toll, to be honest with you. And don't get me wrong, I don't regret it at all. I don't wish it was different, but I absolutely love it. So growing up in this situation, Bret, how have you benefited from this? Oh yeah, okay. That's a really good question. I've benefited actually in a lot of ways. Like I said, I kind of grew up a little bit earlier. I learned a lot of life lessons myself. Really, one of the biggest benefits I've had from being a sibling with somebody with autism was just the curiosity about what exactly it is was probably my biggest benefit. And once I hit high school, I really started researching and looking into it and asking my mom the questions that needed to be asked. And it got to the point where I was so interested that I started creating like slideshows and presentations, and I presented it to the Eudora High School 2 years in a row. It was just something that I became very passionate about to understand, because I wanted to be able to help other people just like my mother does. She put out this book. She wants to be able to help people understand, and that it's one of the things that I benefited from was I wanted to be able to help other people and be knowledgeable about this subject. And it helped me grow in the fact that I would say I'm more inclusive now than I would have been, and more understanding to other people. And like the biggest word I just said there was inclusive. I'm more inclusive to others. Helping start a class at the high school, peer mentoring, which is where high school students go into the special ed room and are mentors for those kids, and they will go to gym class with them, and they will help them with their homework, and they'll just be a friend to those kids. So,
and you've done that.
And I've done that
on a presentation level, even at your college.
Exactly
you did
right.
That YouTube.
So that's just something. It's just something I really benefited from. So that's a really good question, Darren.
Yeah,
thank you.
That was a good question. So, but before that question, so we were into middle school, and so then I remember you coming to me, and we evened it out, and you were like, I can't do this all the time. And for me, it was a fear, because I've talked in a previous video about how when you get to middle school, there's safety issues.
Yeah.
So we would get to the point to where if there was a dance, we would send Ethan for 35 or 40 minutes, and that was it. And then the rest of the 2 to 2.5 hour dance was just you. So we got into a give and take situation, which I think was pretty good. Right?
I would agree. But I feel like at some points it was unfair to Ethan, like when he didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's a give and take. Sacrifices have to be made both ways, which is something my mom was really good about. Was making.
Well, because it also wouldn't have been fair if we said, okay, Ethan wants to stay, so your hour and 30 minutes is going to get shortened.
I would definitely agree that that's unfair.
And he needed to learn to live with disappointment too, which you had to learn too.
I definitely agree.
So then high school, we talked about high school a little bit. He had starting to get into girls, starting to do, and then at this point in time in high school, your group of friends have fully accepted Ethan,
exactly,
which I think made your life
so much easier. That's to any siblings watching. When you get to the point of when your friends start asking questions and you can answer them, have those talks.
Yeah. Because
it makes everything so much easier.
And what would you say if that friend doesn't listen and learn?
Yeah, they're done. I'm going to be honest, they can't be. I mean, you could love that friend, they could be your best friend, but if they're not willing to listen and learn about your sibling with autism, then they're not your friend, to be honest with you. And it's not worth your time to even try and get them into that. So really just have that talk with your friends and get them to understand that, hey, this is how my sibling is, and this is how it's gonna be, and just really explain to them, answer any questions they have, because they will have questions. I promise. I had hours, those conversations were hours long, where they were asking those questions, where I just sat there and answered them. One of the longest conversations I had was with my friend Clayton Faircloth, and where he just asked question after question after question, trying to really wrap his mind around what exactly was going on and why Ethan was doing this, why Ethan was doing that, what exactly everything meant, and what he can do to help, which is one thing that shows they're a true best friend. And that comes in around the 8th grade to high school range. And when you hit that, it makes everything so much easier because you don't have to worry about being embarrassed in front of your friends because they understand.
Mm-hmm.
And in all reality, they start to become family towards Ethan in his eyes too, because in reality, Ethan growing up did not have very many friends. I was one of Ethan's only friends. And so that was also hard on me because I had to take time just to be his only friend too, until my friends were accepting to let Ethan tag along in certain activities. Like if we were going to go get food, Ethan could tag along for that. It was different like if it was a sleepover because that's a little more difficult on everybody.
Yeah.
But if it was something like we were just going to go to Mass Street for like an hour, Ethan could tag along for that. If we were going to go to Set 'em Up Jacks, Ethan could tag along for that. But
so I'll be curious to see what Garrett says about that next week because, again, he's younger, so he has to live with his big brother
being also his little brother.
Being, yes, less developmentally as long as he is. But Ethan has now started going places with Garrett. They've gone to a couple movies. Okay. So it'll be interesting to hear that different
I would definitely
perspective.
Agree.
So then in high school, you take on the role of you're able to just be his friend and brother, which is nice because he has Mr. Hoffmeyer who's protecting him, and he has his peer tutors who are protecting him, and he's got that group of girls and all these people. So now you can just be his brother, and now you can just teach people about him. So what was that like?
It was a change. To be honest with you, it was a weird transition. To me, that didn't happen till like sophomore year.
Yeah, probably.
That didn't happen till about end of sophomore year, once, because Nick wasn't there till beginning of my sophomore year, right?
He was there Ethan's freshman year, so yeah, I saw it your sophomore year. And
so that's when Nick really entered his life, and that was just huge. Nick Hoffmeyer, if you're watching this, great job. It was a weird change being from going to that protector phase to something else, because I won't lie to you, I've gotten into a fight or two because of it in the 8th grade. And it was weird transitioning into a phase where I didn't have to worry about all that.
Darren says my brother didn't do that.
It was weird transitioning into a phase where I didn't have to be that person anymore because he had multiple people to help with that, my friends included. And that's one thing that was beneficial going through high school for not only me but for him, was that he had a core friendship group that were always there for him no matter what happened. And shout out to that group of girls that were always there for him: Catherine Grossadier, Gracie Buchholz, Nikki.
Yeah, but we try not to use real, especially last names, but they know who they are.
I'm sorry, everybody. Good to know.
But so
thanks, Ronnie.
Then also too, so that shift and all that stuff. How did your relationship with your parents get because of that?
Oh, it grew.
Yeah.
Tremendously, it grew.
Why?
Because I was no longer that person that they would send Ethan to the dance with to protect him. I was now his brother I was his friend and his brother that would go to the dances with him. I was more of his ride to and from school versus anything else.
Yeah.
Is what it turned into. And it was less time was put towards Ethan because he didn't need as much time as when he was younger, because he was starting to develop more and he didn't need all the KU speech therapy and things like that.
Well, and we started hiring outside people, so that freed up our time.
And it freed up our time, and that gave more time for me and my parents. And like I said, my parents made sure to really invest in what I wanted to do for me, just like they invested what Ethan needed to do and what Ethan wanted to do. They invested what I wanted to do for me, and that was something that helped us grow. And helping me with soccer because they had more time for it was awesome. And just really being there for me through my struggles in high school, because let's be real, we all mess up in high school and have struggles. So
yep.
They were there for me because they had the time for it. It would have been a lot different if they were still doing the same things, like KU speech therapy all day, and when I was in high school versus when I was in elementary school, it would have been completely different. Having to go through those struggles alone, it would have felt alone because their time was all put up with Ethan, it would have been completely different. So I think the biggest thing was that Ethan was growing and developing too, and so he didn't need as much time, which made it easier for me.
So what about now that you're 20 and you're a college student, and he's 18 or 19 in just a couple of weeks, and he's in transition and adult transition, and he's in some autism classes at a college, but you're so far apart. But so now you've got this, your men. How is your relationship now? Is it still hard? Be honest.
Is one still hard?
Yeah, the relationship. Yeah.
With Ethan and I?
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No?
Not even a little.
Yeah.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
But not hard.
Yeah.
There are times I'm like, dude, just relax.
Yeah.
But it's not hard.
Yeah. But
it's
you
hard.
can talk to him that way though.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's hard about it is being away.
Yeah.
You guys are getting old.
Oh.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
What's hard is being away.
Yes, what's hard is being away.
But yeah.
I left right before Ethan's senior year. And that's when he started growing the most and developing the most and becoming the most independent, and I missed it. That's what's most hard for me, was I missed all of that.
Well, you were off doing your own thing.
Well,
so,
yes,
yeah.
I was off doing my own thing, but it doesn't make it any easier because I still wanted to see him grow. He's my brother. I was there for him the whole time, and yet I leave for a year and I come back and he's way more independent than he was when I left. And that was something that it wasn't, obviously I was very proud and very happy, but it was hard that I wasn't there for it. The relationship hasn't changed. I still get phone calls from Ethan every once in a while. We still try to talk as much as we can. I'll get random texts from him that are just silly.
What do you treasure? You guys have certain things, like, there's something I think that seems from even as a parent, an outsider looking in, that's kind of cool, where you have an adult brother, but you can still act a little childish sometimes.
Yeah.
And what brings you and Ethan together the most is Disney music.
That's what I was about to go. That's what I treasure the most, is that connection we have where we can still be children, where we can be driving up and down Mass Street blaring If I Didn't Have You from Monsters Inc., or I'll Make a Man Out of You from Mulan, and just singing word for word to every song and just having a ball. Or when I'm home, if there's a new Disney movie out, going to see that, or something similar to that. Those are the things I treasure, that he holds on to that kid for me inside of myself. Like, he keeps me a child. He doesn't let me grow up.
Yeah.
Like Peter Pan. He doesn't let me grow up.
Yeah.
Which is one thing I treasure, that I can still be young with him and have a blast and still listen to Disney music and watch Disney movies and have lightsaber battles or whatever. I can still do those things with him. That's one thing I really treasure.
Do you feel like he understands that?
What do you mean?
Like, do you feel like he gets that the way you get it, or no? Is that hard?
Yeah. Sorry. Wow. Damn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is hard that he doesn't quite get it the way I do. But that's just who he is. And that's something special, is that that's just the way he is, and that he doesn't have to feel that way, because that's just how he is. And he'll always be that child. When I have my children, they'll be going and having fun with cool Uncle Ethan, because he'll go have a lightsaber battle with his nephew, or if it's his niece, he'll go play Barbie dolls with it. He'll do whatever he needs to do. But he won't fully be able to wrap his mind around it, I don't think. We're just something hard. While we're on the hard subject, growing into what's hard growing up is that, especially in high school, listening to some of the things he wanted that we never knew that if he could have. like what he wanted was a wife and children. And one thing that's always been hard for me is we don't know if that's a possibility.
Right.
And that's all he wants to
And
do.
a daughter
he
named
wants
Mary.
to be a dad. He wants a daughter named Mary and a son
Yeah.
named Junior. He has his life planned out, but
Yeah.
we don't know if that's possible. And especially those first few years of high school, listening to him ask, why do I have so many friends and he only has me, was really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And something I could never relay to him, which was also very hard.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Yeah, it was just something that I couldn't quite help him with because I didn't know how to answer it, because as great as my friends were and as great as my parents were, it's just, you couldn't just be his friend without me. If you were my friend, it was, you couldn't do, they couldn't really do it alone because they didn't know. And he never could wrap his mind around why I was invited to all these things and he wasn't, because we're close to the same age.
Yeah, 1 year apart. Well, we can move on. That's what this is for.
I know.
Yeah.
But to get past that, I don't even know.
So,
It's just gonna be a struggle you deal with, I think.
but the fact that he doesn't get it at the level you get it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because let's give Ethan credit where it's due. Because he is very he's a very feeling person. So he knows that he loves his brother, but the concept of love is totally different for Ethan than it is for you. And he knows that you're his brother and you love him, but he doesn't in the back of his mind say or remember, you've done all this for me.
I would agree.
Like he doesn't in any way, shape, or form be like, do you remember when you helped me in the 8th grade? Yet you have all this built up on your end. So is it easier? Is it harder? Or is it just what it is now that you're an adult?
It's just what it is.
It's just what it is. Yeah.
It's not any easier. It doesn't get any harder than
There's
dealing
hard
with it back
days,
then.
yeah.
You have good days and you have bad days, just like he does. He has good days and he has bad days, and just like him, you have good days and bad days. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it doesn't get easier.
Yeah.
It's just what it is. Once you accept it is what it is.
Our last really long trip together as a family, you were like, oh my gosh, I forgot what this is like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, are you glad to have a break from it where you can spread your wings, but you'll never fully be broken from it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, I could never be fully broken
No.
from it.
No, you guys are
there's
bonded. Yeah.
There's no way.
Yeah.
Like, even if we weren't as bonded as we were,
He's your brother.
you just can't.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure any sibling that's watching this knows and understands exactly what I'm saying. It's just, there's no way that.
Well, I met with the mom through the Johnson County, through the Autism Society of the Heartland, who said that her kids are younger, and actually her child sounds so much like Ethan, and then the sibling is close in age, and she's always like, I wonder what it's doing to my kid, and is he going to, regret this time and have resentment towards his brother? And I told her, I said that every case is different, but that's not how it is with my kids. And I would like to think that that's kind of the norm. Do you have any resentment?
Not now.
No. Not now. Okay.
Growing up, yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, we were all selfish and immature still. So yeah, there was resentment, and it sucks to say that now and know that I felt that way. But yeah, growing up, there was.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like huge, and I didn't have any hate or anger towards my brother. There was just, this is unfair. What the heck, dude?
Yeah.
But there was some resentment. To be honest here, I mean, that's what this is for.
That's what it's for.
There was. Now, there's absolutely none.
Yeah.
Once you've matured, there's none. And like when I said, every case is different, so I'm not speaking every case is going to be like mine, but from my case, it's more, once I matured and starting understanding, there was none.
Well, and you know how hard it was for you at times, but you now also understand how hard it was for Ethan and how hard it was for Garrett and how hard it was for
His
Mom and how hard it was for Dad.
And
yeah.
I do agree.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Not easy.
So, all right. Anything else? Anything else pop up?
Anything else?
I think you answered the questions that popped up.
I think so too.
Scrolling through.
Yeah, we're gonna scroll through see if there's any other questions that I missed, and if anybody has any,
last,
type them in real quick. Last
chance,
chances.
because we're gonna get off here.
I think there's only the one question.
Well, keep going down. It's a little bit of a delay. What did that say?
Ronnie. Grade fight. I remember that well.
I remember that well too.
Mike Folks is watching. What's
Hi,
up, Dad?
husband. This is fantastic, you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Awesome. Well,
so
if
that
you guys, do you mind if I?
No, yeah, go ahead.
If there are any questions, I have told my mom just to send them into her.
Well, they'll comment below.
Yeah, comment on the video below. Oh, cool. It's like YouTube. Cool. Comment on the video below. Like and subscribe. And then she'll send me any of the questions. I'll record a video myself and send it into her to post on her page, answering those questions.
Or you can just type.
Or I can just reply.
But he'll get
works.
an answer to you somehow. And then.
Thanks, Ronnie.
What Ronnie said.
Good job.
Yeah, and then next week it'll be Garrett with his perspective from what it's like.
Good luck.
Yeah, with a little brother who has to grow up surpassing his big brother.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, if you have any more questions for Bret.
Last chance.
Oh,
we got 7
look who
people.
just logged on.
Hey, Jen.
So, yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
That is it. We're gonna log off. Thank you, Bret.
Bye, guys.